Writer and actor Sacha Baron Cohen's recent and utterly unironic speech at the Anti-Defamation League, a speech calling for the end of free speech, is drawing widespread opprobrium. And why could that be? Could it be the fact that this man decrying deception online made millions out of deceiving people? Or could it be that his goal is to institute government control over information, a crime already committed by some of the most authoritarian and repressive regimes in the history of the planet Earth? Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV, and one can't let this slide or pass it off as another celebrity meets politics disaster. Sacha Baron Cohen's self-defeating speech to call for government censorship is not just hypocritical, not just lacking in facts and balance, possibly intentionally so, it is gut-wrenchingly disgusting. Let me count the ways. 1. The gist of Cohen's speech is that big social media sites are too laissez-faire on speech, that they allow people to spread lies, and that these can lead to hate crimes, election fraud, and the death of democracy.
Now, what do all these dangerous trends have in common? I'm just a comedian and an actor, I'm not a scholar, but one thing is pretty clear to me. All this hate and violence is being facilitated by a handful of internet companies that amount to the greatest propaganda machine in history.
Which, as I mentioned, sets off a giant hypocrisy alarm, because the fact is, this man speaking out against falsity online is famous for deceiving people while filming them. He's famous for deceit. Now, whether or not people think that that served some great noble end, I don't know. The second point, the way that Cohen omits facts in his speech reflects poorly on a man decrying so-called fake news online. So, for example, Cohen worries about the rise of so-called hate crimes, blaming social media while never questioning the ever-broadening arbitrary definitions of what hate crimes actually are, or citing any specific instance in which a person was somehow animated by words to become a human automaton and engage in what these so-called hate crimes are. But of course, that's okay, because Cohen's argument fits very snugly inside the Russians, fascists, climate change skeptics, racists, and conspiracy theorists are all disseminating fake news. And of course, this is a huge problem, and it's got to be solved by the government intervening. Heck, Cohen even mentioned
the algorithms these platforms depend on deliberately amplify the type of content that keeps users engaged, stories that appeal to our baser instincts and that trigger outrage and fear. It's why YouTube recommended videos by the conspiracist Alex Jones billions of times.
I mean, ye gods and little fishes, Alex Jones! It couldn't have been because Alex Jones was popular with people and YouTube used to have algorithms that suggested things that fit things that people liked. And, well, of course, this all happened before YouTube banned Mr. Jones, and it was revealed by a whistleblower that Google and YouTube might just be suppressing search results for conservatives and libertarians, including MRC-TV and Newsbusters. Cohen seems to have conveniently overlooked all that information in his speech calling for speech police. Instead, and this is the third point, he says this.
But when, thanks to social media, conspiracies take hold, it is easier for hate groups to recruit, easier for foreign intelligence agencies to interfere in our elections.
But Cohen doesn't mention that this supposed interference refers to an $87,000 Facebook ad buy alleged to have been made by a Russian restaurateur in a political race for president that cost over $2.6 billion. And he didn't mention that the accused won't go on trial until April of 2020, so he's technically innocent. Oh, and where was Cohen's mention of establishment media CNN being caught as an employee fed debate questions to Hillary Clinton during the campaign? Was that in his speech? No, it was lacking in his speech. Instead, he vaguely praised Antifa, saying this.
The president even tweeted that he was considering designating Antifa, who are anti-fascists who march against the far right, as a terror organization.
The fact that Trump's predecessor's administration issued a warning calling Antifa domestic terrorists was, like so many other facts, missing from Mr. Cohen's blather. He also conveniently avoided citing the numerous instances that Antifa violence has erupted in the United States, or the fact that the Soviet Union used the argument of fighting fascism while building the Berlin Wall. And this brings up number 4. Cohen's overall ignorance or deceit in his overall call for censorship. He actually has the gall to back up his worry that people might believe dubious online information by citing Voltaire, the 19th century French philosopher who was probably the most famous person of that era coming out in favor of free speech.
Voltaire was right when he said, "Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities."
Did he bother to mention Voltaire's most famous aphorism about speech? I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Did Cohen realize that he could be accused of believing absurd claims someday? Evidently not. Instead, he offered this about social media.
A sewer of bigotry and vile conspiracy theories that threaten our democracy and to some degree our planet.
And this brings up point 5. Apart from the fact that America is not a democratic government, of course, apart from the fact that the founding fathers and even Aristotle understood that democracy was mob rule and that there was supposed to be certain parameters beyond which the government couldn't go, like stepping on free speech. Beyond all that, in trying to protect democracy from social media, Cohen attacks the capacity and ability of the demos, which is Greek for the people, to wisely choose what to say and read. And that not only undercuts his faith in democracy, it leaves open to question how this demos will become informed. Would that be through the government, Sasha? Will the government tell the demos what's a conspiracy and what's truth? That sounds a lot like what Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels did in Nazi Germany when they shut down newspapers and speech. And surely you don't want that, Mr. Cohen. Surely the ADL wouldn't stoop so low as to applaud such a proposition, would it? A few questions to leave hanging after hearing Mr. Cohen's speech. Thank you very much for listening and watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Sorry, it's not so funny. It's pretty serious. But it's important to get these messages out and to hold on to these principles. And I know that we're with kindred spirits. Hey, visit MRCTV.org as well, because there's always something very important happening over there that sometimes we just can't get on video. Thanks very much. For MRCTV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.